When you're about 8 or 10 years old, you went to Seattle one day and saw 3 letters everywhere, S-O-B. What about these letters captured your mind?
I think just the fact that it was just walking around and seeing something, you know, I don't even think I equated, oh, that was done with spray paint and this is graffiti or anything. I just saw something as a young kid and was like, you know, it just registered with me. Oh, I see this everywhere. And then as I got older, I kept going and I would keep seeing it. And I was just attracted to it. Like, oh, this thing or whatever it was, I didn't know was this full sober LFC, who in my mind is he's a beast, legend. I never met him, but his graffiti definitely impacted my psyche as a youth, that's for sure.
As you mentioned, SOB stood for sober LFC. Who was sober and why is he so important to Seattle's graffiti culture?
I mean, you'd have to ask like the Seattle fools, but I mean, to me, he's a beast. He's someone that, like I said, super young. That was not the only one, but one of the only ones that stuck out to me. And then as I got into graffiti when I got older and then looking back and then doing my homework, because I'm just like a graph nerd like that, I'm like, oh, this is that fool. And then when I went to New York in 05 with K9er, that fool had a gang of spots with Gouch. And I was like, that's the same fucking sober. Like, oh shit, like just tripped me out because he had a gang of spots in New York back then. And the fact that he continued all the way, moved to the Mecca, you know, all that shit. I was like, this fool's tight. I don't know what he meant maybe to Seattle, but I know for me, like, that fool was a legend.
Who else sticks out in your mind as far as Seattle graffiti?
Fuck. Seattle graffiti, I would just say sober. I didn't really pay attention because I wasn't into it like that. I was more into skating and shit. I would see it, but I couldn't tell you a name. I couldn't even really read it back then because I wasn't into it like that. Seattle, like, was maybe like, well, whatever. It's like 15, 20 minutes from Kent, but like from the town that I moved to, the closest city would be Tacoma or Olympia. And there's a couple fools from there that I remember. This dude, I don't know if he wrote Past back then, but I know he writes it now, and he came back out and he started writing, and he was just a skater that was really good at skating. And we had a skate park in my town, and him and his boys would come every once in a while and skate and shred, but they also did graffiti, so they would hit up the little walls that we had at the skate park, and those fools stuck out to me. I don't know the other names. I just remember Past. We called him Tacoma Dan was like his nickname for the skateboard community, I guess. And I had never met him back then. I just watched from afar.
As you mentioned, from Kent, you moved to a small rural town called Yelm, where they only had one stoplight in the whole town. What was it like to move to such a small place?
It was fucked up. It was fucked up in the senses, like I said, it was a culture shock. I'm coming from California to Kent, which is just normal neighborhoods, a shit ton of people. It's normal. You could go to the fucking Circle K, 7-Eleven, whatever. And then we moved to the Cuts, and it was just a complete shock. Like back then, like I said, it was maybe a population, maybe 7,000 people lived there. Like it was small as fuck. We went to the school, and like on the school grounds, it said, no horses on school grounds. So in my head, I'm like, these motherfuckers ride horses to school? Like I was just tripping out. I was like, there's no way. These fools fucking, where the fuck am I right now? Mom, where did what are we doing out here? So it was a shock. There was no neighbors. Like my nearest neighbor was miles away. Like I lived off a dirt road. There was 80 acres behind me. We lived on a little 5 acres, and it was just very country. And it was different. It was different. But at that time, I was into dirt bikes, so I was like, it's shitty, but at the same time, I could ride my dirt bike in my house. So for that reason, I was like, okay, I might be able to fuck with this, you know what I'm saying?